Welcome to Curito Connects. I'm your host, Jenn, and I've been conversing with friends around the world about life challenges and impactful moments. Conversations on this platform look at answering the questions, how we overcome challenges and how our experiences shape who we are and the work we do today. I hope this work can inspire you on your own personal and individual journey. Let's dive right in. Hello, my guest today is Ohio-born, Taiwan-based Marcus Aurelius Maurice, aka DJ Marcus Aurelius. Hi, Marcus, and welcome to Curito Connects.
Hey, thanks for having me.
So a little secret here, I've actually known who you are for a long time since moving back to Taiwan in 2009.
Oh, I'm blushing on podcast. Can you see that? Can you see my cheeks getting filled?
I can. And have heard your sets at clubs in Taipei. But funny enough, we only got introduced recently at Creamfields by our lovely mutual friend Daisy Lin from Brightside, Taiwan.
Daisy.
So shout out to Daisy.
Daisy, what up, girl?
I'm excited to have you here today to chat with us about how an experience backpacking from Cairo to Capetown allowed you to live life knowing that everything is going to be all right. So without further ado, I will let DJ Marcus introduce himself to our listeners. Maybe start by sharing how a kid from Ohio ended up in Taiwan, DJing for a career, and why this backpacking incident forever changed your mindset on life.
Thanks.
Deep.
Thanks.
Deep.
That's very deep. It's very deep. I love it. I guess I'll start from the beginning. I came to Taiwan in 1998. So I went to Ohio State University. I graduated with a degree in telecommunications and new media technologies in 1997. And then I went for a whole year without finding a decent job. I went for this one job that was like making museums for kids. Like they would have like all old video games and all this old kind of stuff that they were going to do. And I thought I aced this interview. And I thought, because they really try to trick us. I went to the interview and it was an interview with 20 people together. And it was so scary, but I thought that I really aced it. And I thought these people are going to pick me. And the guy came up to me afterwards and said, I loved what you were talking about. This was great. And I'll give you a call in the next 2 or 3 days if we want you. And I was so hyped up. I was like, yes, I'm going to get this amazing job. It's like building a museum. And he had talked about making it like a business so that you could go to different cities and build these museums for kids and all this stuff. And I said, it's it. And so I was out and I came back and on my answering machine, kids, do you know what answering machines are? Voicemail, whatever.
Do we have voicemail now?
If someone sends me a voicemail, I hate their guts automatically. Okay, so only text me, please. I don't even want to call you. Anyway, but I got a voicemail and I went and he said, hey, Marcus, it's whatever. Give me a call. So I'm jumping up and down. I'm so excited. And he said, hey, we picked some other people. And I was like, why did you even call me? You know what I mean? Like it was kind of so high and so low. And my uncle, who had lived in Taiwan since 1982, he kept sending me emails. This is kind of around the beginning of email time. Not the beginning, but like it was a novel thing at this time. And he kept saying, come over here, live with me. I'll buy you a motorcycle and I'll get you a job and try to live somewhere else for a year. And so because I was doing the same thing in university, I was doing landscaping to make money to pay for university during the summer. And I finally graduated, and then went through a whole year of not getting a job and was doing landscaping again. And so I was just kind of like, wow, I did all this stuff, and I'm still kind of doing the same thing I'm doing, right? So why not buy a ticket to Taiwan and go for a year? See what happens, right? And my uncle had a wife and 2 small children. I think they were probably like 6 and 9 at the time, and lived in Yamingshan. So my aunt was a very famous dancer, a modern dancer, and very hardcore in the DPP. So she was very good friends with Abian and all this stuff. And so they were doing a lot of, she was in the beginning of the DPP when they would do art performances when it was illegal to do art performances, but it would kind of show like the government was watching over you and things like that. So I got thrown into that fire. I moved here. They had a restaurant He bought me a motorcycle, like an actual motorcycle. The next day, I had never ridden a motorcycle, and they were like, drive home. And the restaurant is downtown by Main Station. And I had gone 1 or 2 times there, and they're like, just follow. We're like, follow us. I'm like, okay, cool.
So which restaurant was it?
I don't know the name actually.
Is it still around?
It's still around.
Oh, it's still around.
But it's more. Let me get to that. Let me get to that point because there is some crazy story to that. But because she was a modern dancer, so let me just finish the story. So the motorcycle, they bought me a motorcycle, and then around where you go up towards Shilling, in a car you can kind of go this way, but on a motorcycle you can only go a different way, and I didn't know that way, so I had gotten lost for like 4 hours on my second or third day in Taiwan on a motorcycle that I just learned how to drive, right? Basically, like, he gave me the keys and I was lost. And so I called them one time from a payphone, and I was like, they're like, look for an MRT, look for the Grand Hotel, look for that, and if you can find that, go around that corner and you can start going up towards Shilling, towards that way. It's like, okay. And so this was kind of like a preview of like, hey, everything's going to be all right because you're going to figure it out, because I couldn't speak any Chinese. I couldn't do anything, right, at that time because it was my second day here. And finally I got home and everything was fine. It was just I was 4 hours late for dinner, right? Ha 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 on me, okay? So they had been here for a while. She was a modern dancer. My aunt and her sister both had taken over this modern dance studio from their teacher, okay? She had moved to Australia, but she didn't have any of the paperwork for the studio. So while Abian was the mayor, they had put in for this dance studio to become a historical place because it was this old, very old thing, and they built a restaurant onto the side of it or used part of it as things. So you could eat dinner and watch the dance classes, practicing the dance classes on the side, right? When Mine Joe became mayor, the KMT wanted this property because there was no deed for it. Okay, so it was going through all the courts, and one of the first things that happened on maybe the first Halloween I was here, so I think it was '99, if I'm right. If I'm not right, I'm not exactly sure. The day before, the government issued a statement saying that this property was now historical and could not be used, and that next day, someone from the KMT lit a rag on fire and burnt the whole place down. And so my aunt was on the front page of the newspaper crying and screaming and doing all this stuff because this was her studio. And it didn't burn it all the way down, burnt like half of it. Okay? And then the people didn't really try. They had a camera of the guy lighting the Molotov cocktail on fire basically. And they didn't try very hard to find who it was because this property where it is, it's say a couple blocks from Main Station. It's a very valuable property that could be used for buildings or whatever, right? So anyway, at that time, my aunt was very hurt and she wanted to leave Taiwan. And they ended up leaving in 2001, okay? So my uncle during the time, since 1982, basically martial law was ending and he was a guitar player. And so he would be playing guitars in bars. And like, it was really, because it was just the time when bars were opening. And if you had like a foreign guitar player who could play like Hotel California or whatever 1980s schlock was happening, it was big news. So he did that his whole life. So it's kind of funny because my career, I never really wanted to be a DJ or anything like that. But because he was involved in music, I ended up getting involved in music. Not because, but just somehow. And then I've been kind of following his, keeping the tradition alive for our family for 40 years in Taiwan, kind of. So that's interesting. So anyway, they moved away. But one of the things he told me, I was talking about, I don't know how long I want to stay, but I want to go travel the world and see something. And he's like, what you should do is try to find somewhere that's totally opposite of where you've been. Okay? And so at the time, Lonely Planet had these books, okay, that were called On a Shoestring. And so one of them that I found at a local bookstore was Africa on a Shoestring, right? And so I bought it and I started reading it and I read the whole thing, you know, all the way through. And I was like, wow, this is amazing. Can it be possible to go from Egypt all the way to Cape Town? You know, buy a ticket to Egypt, buy a ticket back to Cape Town. And how much does it cost? How long will it take? These type of things, right? And so I had a girlfriend at the time. We just had started dating. And we were like, hey, let's save up some money and try to do this. We work, when you teach, you work kind of harder in the summer because you got extra classes and the kids need to go there, whatever. And so we'll take all the money we made during the summer and go try to do Africa on a shoestring, right? And I mean, I highly suggest this for anyone. This is the greatest, you know, one of the greatest times of my life. I got to see so many different things, but it was very different than I thought, okay? I thought going to Egypt, it's going to be magical. I'm going to see the pyramids. Oh my goodness, it's going to be the best thing I've ever seen. And the pyramids sucked, okay? Because every second of every day in Egypt, there's someone trying to sell you something. And you get to the pyramids and everyone's like, camel ride, Coca-Cola, camel ride. There's a Pizza Hut right across from the pyramids. You know what I mean? It's like, it's good. You're hungry. You want some pizza. You know what I mean? But it doesn't feel like you're at this old place. And so being in Egypt for that first 2 weeks, what our goal was to find a way down. And like now, sadly, Sudan was the problem. Okay? In Sudan, they were having civil war. It's recently flared up and it's going crazy, but this was still brewing back at that time. And they said, you can try to go through Sudan on overland if you want, but you will probably get stopped every 100 kilometers, miles, whatever, and they'll want some money. Or they'll want to cozy up with your girlfriend. And I was like, come on, baby. You want to take one for the team? It's only, you know, whatever. No. She said no, of course. And so we were trying to figure out, okay, what do we do? Do we go over here to Libya? Do we go this way? Do we go this way? And so we couldn't figure it out for a while. And then we were like, okay, we got to fly. So we flew on Ethiopian Airlines, which at the time was very, you know, kind of, you only think of Ethiopia as like poor country, whatever. And you're like, wow, Ethiopian Airlines. We flew there, flew to Nairobi, and then went from Nairobi, Kenya, all the way down to Cape Town. And so it was amazing. This trip was amazing. I highly suggest anyone go backpacking for any amount of time. I was just listening to your interview with Maybach on the way here, actually, and a lot of the same things kind of, you know, like kind of happened. But it just changes your perspective of things when you don't have a place to live and all this stuff, right? And so I thought Egypt was going to be this amazing place, and Southern Africa would be hard. You get robbed, you know, whatever. And it was the exact opposite. Egypt has had 2 decades worth of tourism, so they're there. They know how to rip people off. They know how to scream at you. They know how to do all these things. When you get to Nairobi, when I got down there, it was so much friendlier, and people were so much nicer and so much more chill. And the hardness that I had in my heart from 2 weeks of being in Egypt, of trying to negotiate, oh, I don't know, I want this water, you're screaming at each other. You get down there, and I'm like, no, I want this. And the guy's like, hey, relax. This is the price. You know what I mean? Like, and so in Egypt, you negotiate like 90% of the price. Down there, you negotiate like 50% of the price. Taiwan, I think you negotiate like 10% of the price. You know what I mean? So, but it's just such a different. In Egypt, they were just, you know, you're arguing with people. You're like, no, how could you want to pay this? My wife, my family, da 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 da. And you just start to walk away, and you'll be like, okay, wait, come back, okay. Whereas down there was way more chill, and so we went through all these different countries. We went to Zanzibar, Tanzania, all this stuff. It was amazing. We went to a waterfall in Zambia, in Zimbabwe. It was the dry season, so there was like a hot tub on the corner of this waterfall. And you could walk out to the waterfall, sit in the hot tub, and just watch the water go over. Like insanity, right? Like if you've been to like Niagara Falls or something like that, you can't even get near. You have fences, all this stuff. This was like, you can just die. Okay, you can fall over and die and no one would know and it was fine. But that's part of what the allure of Africa is, right? And so we stayed there even to the sunset to watch the sun go down there. And all the other people left and we're like, wow, we're here alone. And then the reason why we're here alone is because it's dark. Okay, and so no one wanted to be in the dark. We're walking back and there's a huge elephant. So it's like we either walk by the elephant or jump off, so we're kind of like, so that's just how you have to figure out things in Africa, right? Anyway, it's tiring because you're doing, basically to get through overland, you're doing 24-hour bus trips each way. So it was November, it was the day of the George Bush Al Gore election. So that's November something, 04, yeah.
Or 02, 04.
04. Okay.
Ish.
Anyway, we had this 24-hour bus ride, and what had happened was another bus was broke down on the way. And our bus stopped and put all the people from that bus onto our bus. Okay? These are old school buses, like school buses from the US, the yellow school buses. They send them over there, and they're they easily break down. But we're like, why are you picking these people up? And he said, if I don't stop and pick them up, no one would stop and pick them up. So you have to pick everybody up. So it's just wall-to-wall people with chickens and all just crazy, crazy, crazy stuff. So this 24-hour ride was a nightmare. The guy in the front was he was the owner of the bus and whatever, and he told us he would give us a ride to our hostel when we got there. Then when we got to the bus station, it was 2 a.m, and he decided, instead of giving us a ride, because he didn't like my girlfriend's attitude at the time, because she was a bit lippy, and we broke up during this trip, okay? But he decided, instead of letting us sit in the front seat of the car, he was going to put a bunch of bananas in the car, okay? So we're stuck in this really, really dark, dank area, and all these cab drivers are coming up, and we're saying, hey, we want to go to this hostel. And they're saying, okay, 100 US, which should be like, but it should be like $1. Okay, but they know we're stuck. So we just say, okay, F it, we're going to walk. Okay, this is before Google Maps. This is before all this stuff, we don't know which way we're going. We're just walking out from all these cab drivers trying to rip us off. Okay, so we walk to a gas station. And there's a guy in the gas station, and this girl in the gas station together, and we're like, oh my goodness, this is not the things we want to see, it's like locked, not the right place. So we keep walking, and this guy in a car pulls up, and he's like, get in the car right now. And we're like, and he's like, get in the effing car right now. And we're just like, he's like, I'll take you. He's like, where are you going? I told him the hostel. He's like, okay, I'll take you there. No problem. Get in the car right now. And he told us that we were in the middle of one of the worst parts of the city. Okay? But because it was 2 or 3 a.m, there weren't that many people out. But we had our bags, our passports, all our money, everything that we owned, we had from this trip. And he was a guy who was working for Coca-Cola, and they were changing all their glass plants to plastic. So he was going all the way through Africa. So he was from Philadelphia. And I remember it was the George Bush, because they didn't know what it was they didn't know who was the winner. And so all the people in Africa were loving this, because they think, oh, the elections in Africa are always rigged or always fixed. And so this was the first time, that, oh, the US election, no one knows who the winner is, right? So everyone was like cheering that no one knew what the winner was. And the guy was wonderful. He just said, he took us to another gas station without people having sex at it, and bought us some food, and said, you were in a very dangerous situation, okay? And that could have been really bad. Take us to the hostel, and everything was fine. And so from there, what I realized is that no matter, because it really felt like, holy shit, we're going to not be able to figure out what we're going to do. Because we had no idea where to go, what to do, and it's 2 or 3 a.m, And it just kind of felt like, just keep going, and everything will kind of work out the way it's supposed to work out, And so that really stuck with me from then until now, and what I'm doing. And so it's just like, if you want to do it, if you think you can do it, if you think you can go through Africa for 2 months, you can do it, because you just figure out how to do it. And each way, I mean, now the internet, now Google Maps is so much easier, right? But it was just like, we had, even on all these guidebooks and even on any of the stuff, there was no way that we would have known about this thing, this waterfall, but it was just from talking to people. And it was just like this thing where you're just like sitting down and someone's like, hey, and we changed our whole time to go because we wanted to go to this. They're like, it's worth it. You can sit on the edge of a waterfall. It's called Devil's Falls, actually. And it's unbelievable. And you're never, like, there's just no, you can fall right over, you can be there. And so it's unbelievable. And it only happens certain times when there's a drought for like 2 years. And so it's just like randomly we got to see this thing, So I felt, yeah, hey, everything's going to be okay. And now I kind of, that's kind of, I don't know if it's my philosophy necessarily or if I have a philosophy, but I just feel like if you really want something, you can figure out how to do it and it will be okay to get there.
Wow. It's like...
That was a lot of talking, I'm sorry.
Well, no, it's fine. It's storytelling.
Yeah, it is storytelling.
I could see that become a movie of some sorts, actually. Did you end up keeping in touch with the guy who picked you guys up?
We didn't.
He was American?
He was American. That was the thing. He's like, I'm from Philly. Get in the car.
Wow.
And we're like, he's like, trust me. Get in the car right now. And I'm just like, I just had gone through 24 hours and it's like sitting on a bus. It's so, and you got these guys trying to rip you off and you don't know what's going on. He's like, it's dangerous out there. I'll take you to wherever you need to go. Just get in a car right now. I'm like, okay. And then by the time we got in, but it was like, because he had a driver and whatever and stuff like that. But it was just like random person, like you're taught at a young age, don't get in a car with strangers. But, and it didn't, for us, for that 5 or 10 minutes we were there, it didn't seem that dangerous because there was just no one around where we were at that time.
Right.
But what he said was, you're in like a really bad part of town. And a lot of the bus areas, truthfully, and when we were going through Africa, were in bad parts of town. You know what I mean? So
at this point, this is like halfway through your trip, right? Halfway up the 2 months?
Yeah.
So how did the rest of the trip go?
Oh,
and kudos to the ex-girlfriend who...
I mean, shout out to her because it's sad that we broke up because it's a hard thing to do for anybody. Okay, there's no doubt. And it's just we had already basically decided we weren't going to be together by this thing happening, because we didn't know each other that well, I think, and we went on this trip, and then halfway through we're just like, we kind of can't stand each other. And there were just like there's just when you're traveling backpacking through Africa for 2 months, you really get to know somebody because you're put in a lot of situations that are very, I wouldn't say dangerous, because we weren't in really any dangerous situations, but they feel like they're dangerous at the time. One time we were in Malawi, the poorest country in all of Africa, and we were waiting. How you did it there was they had like the school buses here, like they take kindergarten kids. That's like their public transportation. So they pull up and you just wait till it fills up and then they go, okay? And so you pay like, 10 NT, whatever, to the guy, and you wait for 5 minutes and then 5 people get in and then the guy goes, okay? So we're waiting in the bus and this Jeep pulls up with like 5 guys with Uzis or AK-47s or AR-47s, right? And jump out. And the guy starts going like this and this one guy's like, come on, go. And we're like, oh my God, what's happening? And this guy's like, hey, don't worry. I was like, is there a bomb? Is there something like that? He's like, no, those were the local police and they wanted to give the guy a parking ticket, but he wanted to get the hell out of there, so he didn't get his parking ticket. So just for that 2 minutes, you think like, oh my God, the world's ending, we're about to get shot. And they're just like, oh, he just was doing a U-turn. So that's another thing. It's always going to work out. You know what I mean? Like, it just shows you that your initial perception of things sometimes is not the right thing. And so if you get it explained to you or you take a step back, then you actually get to see what happens. So
how did you guys manage to finish the trip together? Like, did one party just say, I'm done here, I'm leaving first?
We broke up. Actually, my birthday was the middle day. So September 25th we left, and November 25th, and October 25th was my birthday. And we were in the most beautiful place in the whole entire universe called Zanzibar, which is an island off of Tanzania. And they didn't even have electricity. So you had to take a boat to this part of the island that didn't have electricity. And at night they gave you a lantern for electricity, right? So at that time, she just wasn't having a good time with my friendliness to everybody. And she just, it was just, we just decided, okay, let's get it. And we discussed like her going back and me finishing the trip, but we couldn't figure out a way to kind of make that happen. So we just kind of had to finish it. And we got to Cape Town. That was the thing, is that we got to Cape Town 2 weeks early because we wanted to see, like Cape Town is another amazing place. But by the time you get to Cape Town, when you've been through Africa, all the stuff you can do in Cape Town is like 10 times more expensive. But you're happy to see a fixed price. You know what I mean? You don't have to negotiate for a glass of water. You don't, so you're kind of happy, but you've just seen, this painting on the wall that in Cape Town is $5,000 and in Malawi was $5. You know what I mean? So by the time we got there, it was like we were safe and just kind of waiting to get to be finished, And so, it's sad, but it just, we just didn't like each other by the end of the trip. And, and so shout out to her for making it. It was one of the greatest times of my life, and I've had great pictures from it and whatever. But, I would definitely say if you're going to do something that's hardcore like that, go with someone you know really well. Or are married to, or something like that. Because if you're going with a new relationship, it can throw a lot of twists and turns into your relationship. But isn't that what
they always say, though, in new relationships, you should always test it out by going on a trip of some sort?
I mean,
right?
Going to Thailand for a weekend or a week and going through Zimbabwe and Zanzibar and all these Z's, is a totally different thing. So sure, going on a trip is great, but traveling, like really hardcore traveling, like backpack traveling, and I haven't really done much. I have a backpack and I'm going to Jade Mountain for the first time, which is ridiculous that I've been here for so long and haven't done it. But I'm like practicing putting weight in there and trying to do some hiking to try to get my stamina up. And I'm just like, wow, I haven't used a backpack in a very...
Since that trip?
I've traveled a lot, but I haven't like traveled over, like I've been to many places maybe, but I haven't done like this long hardcore thing. And so I've always had this dream of doing the same thing in South America, because I feel like that's how you have to experience it, kind of. But
make sure you travel with someone you can travel with for that long.
Or by yourself.
You know what I mean?
You know what I mean? And so I just feel like it's, the last 10 years of my life, my mother hasn't been very well. So every time that I want to do something like a bigger trip is always going to see her, or going back to America. So I do a lot of small trips, Vietnam, Laos, Cambodia, whatever, stuff like that. But it's easy, very easy compared to traveling through Southern Africa.
So have you been back to anywhere in Africa or Cairo?
I haven't. I don't think I would ever go back to Egypt necessarily. The Middle East kind of wore me down from just that 2 weeks. I never say never, but there are, from reading that whole book about Africa, there are so many different places in Southern Africa that I would love to go see. And the Horn, like the little French Horn over there with the Ivory Coast and stuff like that, that kind of interests me. Like Morocco, I had a friend that was from Morocco, and we had talked about going to Morocco, and I never made it, stuff like that. So there's parts of Africa that I would love to go travel around Africa and see the difference, because for me it was just so eye-opening, because there were a lot of places didn't have roads, like paved roads. And so to see the difference from 20 years ago to now has got to be incredible.
Wow. So adventurous.
Yeah, and so that's got me, But what I would say, okay, so to bring it all back, would be that from that everything is going to be okay.
Yes.
I feel that my time in Taiwan, what that's done for me is give me a spirit of like, whatever you want to, like, that's the thing, is that whatever you want to do, you can make it happen if you really want to make it happen in Taiwan. So some examples of that,
So you came back from the trip.
Well,
You told your uncle about this amazing adventure you went on.
He was still here. See, that's why I think it wasn't 2004. I feel like it was 2000 maybe.
Oh, maybe earlier. It was probably earlier, yeah.
Because my uncle left in 2001, so I think it was 2000 election was the Al Gore.
Yes.
Was the like hanging chads and stuff like that. But when I first got to Taiwan, there wasn't much hip hop. Okay, and so that's surprising now because it's so prevalent. 23 years later.
I remember that. There wasn't a lot of hip hop.
There
were
was
only a few clubs.
Yeah,
and that was it.
Well, even before that, there was a club called TU. Okay, and so TU was the place my uncle played at, and so there was still, when I got here in '98, there was still like the band would play and the DJ would play and the band would play and the DJ would play. That was kind of like the thing still, but the DJ was the newer thing. Okay. And only TU played hip hop. And I remember that it was just, like I liked hip hop. I grew up on hip hop in Ohio, stuff like that. And I came here and there wasn't any. I was just like, So I went to Spring Scream and I saw these two guys doing hip hop. And I had never really thought about being very involved in it, but they were playing records and scratching and rapping. And I just started talking to them. They're like, yeah, come to our jam session, come hang out, do some rapping, whatever. So I ended up being in this group called the Triple Stage of Darkness. Okay. And I was one of the MCs. I wasn't very good, but I was good at making the crowd move and put your hands up, that type of stuff like that. And so that was, to me, that was like part of it. And so we started doing shows. We started doing stuff like that. And I started buying records because there were still records. And, the one guy, he never showed up for practice. He was good, but he never showed up for practice. So we kicked him out. And then we called ourselves Triple Stage. Mm-hmm. So we kicked out the darkness. Hey, yo, Marcus, let's spark this. Get rid of the darkness. That type of stupid stuff. And
these are other foreigners?
These are other foreigners, two British guys, yeah. MC Headspinner and DJ, shout out to them. I still am in contact with a little bit,
Are they still here?
They're not still here. No, they've moved away, yeah. But I got a contract with Budweiser to do like 10 shows. And we had to get it paid through my friend's wife because she had a Taiwanese ID. And we were making this magazine, like a CD-ROM magazine. He was a great developer. And it was going to be a monthly magazine, but he made all this cool stuff. You could scratch it and do all this stuff. And so I started writing reviews of records and all this stuff. So that's how I got into writing. But we did one, and the first one sold like 100 copies. You had to make 1,000 copies, and we sold 100, so we made some money on it. Okay, but we still had 900 left. Then the next month, we did another batch, and we did a party, and we sold like 20. Okay, so we didn't make the money back. And then the third month came, and I was like, hey, we've got 900, 1,800 of these CD-ROMs left. Let's not print a new batch of 1,000, and let's try to sell some of these old ones to other places. He's like, no, we got to do it. And he went on and printed a third copy. Okay. And so he used our money that we made from that tour for this thing. So we ended up breaking up, and I ended up taking the turntables. Okay. From this, I was the one who carried them or left them at my house or whatever, stuff like that. So I ended up having the turntables. And during this time, I was emceeing and doing stuff like that, but also practicing, and so around that time, I started DJing by myself. Like, could I do a DJ set all by myself? And so I did, and it was good. And I did a couple shows, but what I liked was doing things outside. Okay. And so that's what I got known for, was doing parties that were in weird venues. Okay. And so one of the weird venues was Baishawan. So we went, there was a woman who was there.
Why is that a weird venue?
Let me explain the story. Thank you for setting me up so nicely. Okay. There was a woman there, and she had a refrigerator, and she sold cold drinks at the time. Just on, there's a little enclave there, right? And we said, hey, can we come and use your electricity? Mm-hmm. And we're going to have a little party. You can sell all the drinks you want, and we're just going to have a party with, 100 people, whatever. He's like, yeah, sure, no problem. So brought some speakers, set up the speakers, did all this stuff. And 800 people showed up to this party that was supposed to be 100 people. And it was a 24-hour party from like, Saturday night to Sunday afternoon. And it got my name. Like everyone's like, wow, look, this guy's doing all these cool parties. It made like, I think there was a magazine called Pots at the time. It was kind of like the underground weekly. And so just everyone was like, oh, this guy's doing cool stuff. My DJing wasn't so good at the time, but I was still playing good music, but like my skill hadn't quite caught up with my parties. Then I was like, okay, what else can we do? I found a roller rink. Okay, the last roller rink that was in Ximending. And I did a party there, and it was unbelievable, amazing. They let us drink while we were roller skating. So people would fall down and spill the drinks all over the place. And it was, dangerous, but it was amazing. Really, really fun. I think I did 2 there, and the final one was the final night the rink was open because roller skating had died, right? So that was sad, but he was like, anyone who wants to take your your skates, take them with you. Go ahead. That was the final thing. So that was cool. Except they were for indoors, so as soon as you rode them outdoors, the wheels died, right? But so I kind of got a reputation for that. So I've done ice skating parties, roller skating parties, beach parties was the first one. So I was the first one in Taiwan to do a beach party ever. And then my goal was to start pool parties. Okay, so I found the pool in Danshui, like kind of not in Danshui, but kind of like back up in not by where the main part of Danshui is, but kind of back up in there. And I found this really cool pool, and we did the first pool party in 2007, and it was great, amazing. And then other people started doing pool parties, but it was closer in the city. And so I was like, oh, we got to find a way, because people started going to those parties and started going like that. So for the last 16 years, I've put on probably some of the best pool parties in Taiwan that have ever happened, and I'm pretty proud of that. And, I stopped doing it maybe 3 or 4 years ago, and people were like, please, Marcus, get it. We don't have anything to do for the summer. And so last summer, I started again, but instead of just pool parties, I'm doing beach parties, river parties, waterfall parties, and not just in Taipei, all over the country. And so we found a rooftop pool in Taichung. I do a beach in Sijing. We're talking to some people in Tainan. I'm going this weekend to Jiayi, to Zhunan, to go meet with people. And so basically I just try to do anywhere you can put music and bring people together. I think it's a great time. So I'm working now with Red Point, and they're a beer company, and they give me some beer to do it, and we make people come early. You get free beer, and then stay all day and have a good time. So yeah, so it's a lot of stuff.
Sounds very fun.
Yeah.
Sounds very forward-thinking for you to be in this marketplace at the right time.
Yeah.
And so how would you say that what you just illustrated with your Taiwan journey and your career here, and how that kind of, I guess, in a way manifested itself? Again, going back to what you introduced to us very early on, that this was not a path you thought you would be on today. And then going back to the theme of that everything's going to be all right. Do you think that you just kind of went with the flow? You didn't really fight it, right? It was just kind of like, all right, I met these people. I like music. It's not like you studied music.
Yeah.
And then, you enjoyed music. Then you kind of figured out how to
DJ, how to borrow people's speakers. Yeah, sure. So there are 2 other things that I didn't mention in that, which are pretty big points of my life. One is I moved to China for a year. So
this was like mid-2000s.
Yeah, 2007, right before the Olympics. My friend who was here moved to China, and he was getting DJ gigs so much that he wanted to start a booking agency and just fly DJs all over the country. So I was like, hey, let's go. He flew me over once to Shanghai, and they call it China drunk. You go there for the first time and you see all the big buildings and you're like, oh my God, it's amazing here. Oh my God. And then you get there and it's sober. You're like, China sucks. But so I went there for a year, and that was part of the, hey, you can do anything. Okay. Everything's going to be okay. But then the visa situation. So right before the Olympics, they started changing everything. The visas for foreigners were changing the thing, everything. That was just like they were making the streets safer. They were doing all this stuff. And it was just like every single day there was something new about a law that you had.
Red taping.
Red taping. And so before, if you wanted a F visa on your passport, you called a number, some random person came to your door, took your passport for a day, you gave them 5,000, the equivalent to 5,000 NT, and a day later they'd bring it back and you have a 6-month visa. They canceled all those. You couldn't even get them in Hong Kong anymore, right? So all these people, I knew a guy who had 7 restaurants and he had a week left on his visa and he had to figure out what to do. Okay, so it's just like they were changing every single thing. So my idea was, okay, I've got to either go back to Ohio or move back to Taiwan with my tail between my legs. Okay? So I sent my uncle a message who had been in Ohio since 2001. And I said, Uncle Dave, should I come back to Ohio? And he said, Dear Marcus, no. Love, Uncle Dave. Okay?
Do you still have that?
So I thought, okay, maybe he's thinking I shouldn't go back there, right? So
what was he doing at that point?
He had done.
He went back to music there too. Or?
He hasn't done music, but he's done probably like 6 different businesses since being back in the 20 years that he's been back. And while he's been successful and is wonderful, he wanted his kids to know his grandparents, and it probably extended my grandparents' life by 5 years for running around and taking them to soccer practice and doing whatever. For him personally, everything has been really rough. So he had a restaurant. They were running the restaurant here, you know what I mean? And then he went and did a restaurant, and then the mall, all the rules in the mall changed and whatever type of stuff. And then he did roofing stuff, and just he's survived and succeeded, but it's been very tough. Whereas Taiwan, it's not quite as tough to do these things and make a decent living, right? So I moved back, and then I was doing, I was editing. So that was my thing. I taught for the first 6 years. I moved to China, came back, and was doing editing. But then the other thing that's a big turning point in my life was called the Red Bull 3 Style. Okay? And so this is a world DJ battle that Taiwan had for 5 or 6 years. They were part of it.
Oh, it's no longer here?
I'll get to that, yeah.
Oh, okay.
But it doesn't exist anymore. Okay? And so what had happened was by the time it came to Taiwan, I was a pretty well known in a scene and probably the best foreign DJ, and my DJ skill had stepped up. But they asked me, Red Bull asked me, do I want to be a judge? Okay? And so I thought about it for a while, and I said, no, I want to be in it. Okay? And they're like, really? I'm like, is it possible that your judges could vote for a foreigner to represent Taiwan in the world finals of the Red Bull 3 Style? And I said, yeah, it's allowed. It's part of the rules are you just have to live there. You have to be part of the scene, stuff like that. And so I was involved in the contest for 4 or 5 years. I made it to the finals twice. I should have got second place one time. And there were a couple little things that, judges, whatever. But for my skill level, what the Red Bull 3 Style did as a DJ for me was made me practice every day for 5 hours, 7 hours, 10 hours, okay? And once you do that, you gain this skill of music. You gain this skill of coming up with creating something new, doing all these things that I never had thought I could do before, okay? And so while I didn't win, what I did learn from there is that you automatically win as long as you're in it, okay? And so it's not just the GOAT of Taiwan, greatest of all time. There's not just a GOAT. There's many GOATs, okay? And that's why when you have LeBron versus Michael Jordan, who's the GOAT? They're both GOATs. And there's Dr. J is the GOAT. There's this GOAT. There's a lot of GOATs. And that's the thing that you learn eventually when you're in these type of things. So I didn't win, but I had a great time. And the one of the things that I was most proud of was that the Red Bull 3 Style World Finals was coming to Taiwan in 2019.
Wow.
Okay? So all the best DJs in the world. 30 people were competing, plus probably 20 to 30 were going to be judges, just here, kicking it, whatever. And it was my job as the host to be welcoming to everybody, to meet everybody, to do all this stuff, right? And so the Red Bull people came to Triangle one night, and they came on a Tuesday night, and it was ping pong night. So game night, no one was there, but Triangle is a small, like 150 person venue. And, we played some ping pong, did whatever. And I said, look, this is the spot for the after party. Okay. Cause you have all the things, but you want on the after party, you want to have all the DJs. If you want to go on for 5 minutes, if you want to go on for 10 minutes, you want to have it just be as wild and as crazy as you can. And at these bigger places, you can't really do it. Okay. So they scheduled all the things, and they had the after party for AI that was programmed for AI on that Sunday night, I think. And Thursday night was the first wave of the finals at AI. And then Friday, I couldn't make it that night. On Friday, the guy from Red Bull called me and said, look, we want to change it to Triangle for the after party on final. And I was like, woo! I mean, I remember specifically being on the street and being like, look, we can make it. We can do this. We can do this. We can do this. So I sent my bosses at Triangle this message, and they sent to staff, and they're like, oh, we're not open on Sunday night. And I said, fine, I'll get people to do it. You know what I mean? It was just like, I'm like, this is our big chance to do this whole thing, to have all these guys come and play for free at your place, to make a video, to do all this stuff. And the party went on Sunday night. So they had the festival on Sunday afternoon, which was the finals of the party. Then the after party till 7 a.m. And then the next day was Bastard's Barbecue on the roof of Frank. So it was like 10 parties in 7 days, and everyone's sick for the next week because you party too much. But it was.
Do you guys sleep?
Well, the funny part was my girlfriend at the time, her mother and her mother's boyfriend came into town that day, the day of the finals, the day before the finals. So they arrived in Taiwan for a 2-week vacation. I think a week, 2 weeks. And I'm like, this is not how it is every time, but I'm going to show you the coolest thing you've ever seen in your life. I'm going to introduce you to DJ Jazzy Jeff, who, people know from the Fresh Prince, stuff like that. And so I got to sit them in the VIP area with the judges and drink for free all day. And I'm just like, I know this looks really cool. It's not how my life is every day. It's just like the one time. And I call it peak Taiwan. And so peak Taiwan is when there's a lot of really good things happening. And this was the peak of the peak Taiwan. So it was a great experience. They had the Cause. Do you know who the artist Cause, who does the thing? Yeah. So when it was at Chiang Kai-shek Memorial, they're having the festival at the same time. We had all this stuff going on, and it was amazing. And so these things of like, these are parts of my life that even if I didn't win the Red Bull Freestyle champion and get to go to Taiwan, I won so much more because I met all these people. I practice so much more. I understand more about music and stuff like that. And so that kind of goes with as long as you do it, like winning is not just the answer. Everything's going to be okay, and it sucks. It sucks. You lose, you practice for months and months and months and lose in front of a crowd of 500 people. And everyone's standing on the stage. You're standing there, and they announce someone else as the winner.
And it's within that industry.
But it's just part of it, and you've got to like smile and be like this. And there's a picture, it's the main picture of the thing is like everyone going, hey, and you're like, hey, he won, not me, And so, but that's part of it.
Yes.
And you understand, and everything's going to be all right. And I'm okay. I'm okay with it. And so I feel it just is something that builds inside you, and it helps you with everything. So it was great, and everything worked out how it was supposed to work out. So It's all good.
So it's almost like this mindset that you have, actually.
I think my mindset is just more of like, keep pushing yourself. Let your grasp always exceed your reach, exceed your grasp exceed your reach. Just keep trying to push to do new things, and you will get these new things. You can do different things. And so like this year for Havana, I've got like 10 dates booked, but none in Taipei. And I'm kind of sad, like, man, maybe I'm not going to do a pool party in Taipei. And that's where I've done hundreds of pool parties. But then I did one in Taichung, and it's on a roof, and it's amazing, and the people down there are great. And I'm just like, I don't really need to do it in Taipei.
Yeah.
You know, like I love Taipei, it's my home city, but there's just not a good venue at the moment that I found for this. So just kind of,
So I hope this doesn't sound like a silly question.
Okay.
But
No questions are silly. Isn't that what your third grade teacher told you?
I think so. Or maybe your parents tell you
Mm.
that. Hopefully.
Hopefully.
Parents tell you that
Hopefully.
there's no such thing as a silly question.
Yeah.
But did you ever encounter points in your life, you know, when we look in hindsight, right? Because obviously there's still many years ahead of you.
Mm-hmm.
But where you felt like, oh, maybe I want to go back to the U.S. or maybe I want to go to a different market, or maybe I'm done with Taiwan, or maybe I don't want to DJ anymore, you know, like of all these different, you know, because obviously in life, you know, we go through many different transitions.
Sure,
and
sure.
we brand ourselves many, many different times, right? So I was just curious for you, like, was there at any point where you were like, oh, I'm so tired of trying to find the right pools to do these pool parties, or trying to get this marketplace to understand what these kind of outdoor music scenario is like, or people don't understand, you know, even in the early days, it's like people don't understand what hip hop is or how, and maybe you can also educate us a little bit, but like how has the music scene in Taiwan evolved in the time you've been here, right? From hip hop to techno to EDM to the underground stuff. And we actually have some really amazing Taiwanese DJs as well who have traveled globally to compete and perform and collaborate with you know, famous people as well, right?
Yeah, sure.
So
there are a few different questions there.
I know, sorry.
Yeah.
I just had.
So no, it's fine. Let's go to like if I ever wanted to move away and stuff like that and change. So I was finished with Taiwan in 2007. I was done, and I put, here's the saddest thing, on my going away night, the not the party, because I did have a party on the Saturday, but on like Tuesday I was leaving, I had probably like 1,000 records that I was gonna put on the street, and it was raining out. Okay, so my buddy came, and he was like, "You're not putting those out on the street." I'm like, "Dude, I gotta move. I'm going on a flight tomorrow morning." He's like,
Where
"No."
were you gonna go?
I was moving to Shanghai.
Oh, okay, that was in China.
That was when I was moving to Shanghai, and he's like, "No, I'm calling a cab." So he took a cab and filled up this cab with vinyl records. Okay, probably 2,000 records in the cab, and took it to his house. He lived on a 5th floor, and dragged them all the way up. And China didn't work out, so I was a little bit sad. You know what I mean? And then I came back, and he had to move from that place. And he was like, "Marcus, do you want your records back?" And I was like, "Okay, I'll take them back." And so, you know, like you think about these things, you think about this stuff.
Kudos to this friend.
Yeah, shout out to Dominic. He held him down, and you know, things like that happen. I mean, losing the 3 style, stop doing pool parties, you know, these are things that did make me sad for the parts of the time, you know. But even going to China, what China did was made me really love Taiwan. Okay? So because came to Taiwan, and I thought, everyone's so friendly, everyone's so nice, everyone's so kind, and you know, all the DJs are like, "Oh, you're a new DJ? Sure, come here, talk to me." Da, 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 da. I went to China, and people are like, "Meh, there's this much cake, and you're a new DJ, so you're taking this much of my cake." And that's what they explained it to me. They didn't like new people. Okay? And that was the foreign DJs who are supposed to be like friends with each other, right? And so I would say that I learned a lot from that, but since then I've been going to Thailand recently, and one with the legal marijuana, one with the thing, you know, I look at it and go, could I live here for a while, you know? Because they really got a thriving hip hop scene too, and I'm doing a lot of stuff there, but Taiwan just really works for me, okay? And so I go home, and my hometown when I left had 55,000 people, and now there's 30,000 people there, okay? So it's been decimated by, there was a factory that used to produce cars, and now that factory went to Mexico, like during that time, and everything's been going downhill. But in the last two times I've been home, there's been some like movement. People have made craft beer bars. My friends have restaurants, stuff like that. And so it's just like, you know, it is a possibility. Yeah, you know, I go to San Francisco. My buddy lives in San Francisco, San Jose actually. And I go there and I go, man, this place is amazing. There's so much stuff to do here, but it's so expensive, you know what I mean? So it's just like it's good for a few days, right? Whereas I think Taiwan has the balance of that, whereas everything's kind of balanced right. You know, the cost of living with how much money you make and stuff like that. And so with that saying is that I had to teach people, you know, to like hip hop, to like different styles of music, to like funk music, to do stuff like that. And so over the 20 years now, my brand is myself. Okay. And so I have now, people know that if they go to a Marcus Aurelius event or I'm DJing or I'm going to be there, it's going to be fun. People are going to have fun. There's going to be dancing. There's going to be doing this. And so I've worked 20 years to get to this. If I went somewhere else, while maybe I could do well, it would still take me 3 or 4 years to get like the contacts I needed and stuff like that. So I don't know. Have I thought about, am I aging out? Okay. Are DJs young? You know, it's something as a 48-year-old man, you know, is this a young person's game? Am I going out? Am I going to be the old guy in the bar? Right. So I look at it like this. Hip hop this year is turning 50. Okay. So hip hop used to be a very young person's game. Okay. But as it gets older, older people are still in it. So the godfather of who all hip hop people think is the best is Jazzy Jeff. He's 60. Okay. He almost, like at the beginning of COVID, people were like, Jazzy Jeff is dying. And everyone was like, oh my God, this is like the world would end. Okay. For hip hop DJs. But he didn't die, thank goodness. And, you know, it's just like, as things get older, you can be older doing it. And so I've been looking for the last 2 or 3 years to find my own venue. Since I got fired unceremoniously from Triangle, I've been looking to have my own venue, and I haven't quite found it yet because I'm looking for the perfect spot.
And everything's going to be all right.
And everything's going to be all right. So I'm not in a rush, okay? But each time, you know, and then I try to do it when it's off time, like December to March, April, you know what I mean? I have this time there's not that much going on. I try to look for places. I've gone to meetings. I've done this, and anything I've done hasn't worked out yet. Okay. Will it work out in the future? Sure. Will I be a 50-year-old opening a club?
Maybe.
I could be. Yeah. Okay. But I'll go there and I'll tell you, like, I feel like I want to see good DJing. Okay. And when I open this venue that I want, what I want to do is I want to teach kids how to DJ for free.
That's awesome.
Okay? Because I want them to DJ well. And I want to teach them how to not only DJ, but market themselves, do these things. Because DJing now is just one part playing good music. It's a lot of marketing, videoing, Instagramming, social media, getting out there, being on time. You know what? If you said what are the top 3 things for a DJ, number 3 would be playing good music. Number 1 would be showing up on time. Okay? The amount of people that don't show up on time and screw up. If you have 10 DJs, and imagine if 3 don't show up on time. How screwed up that screws up your whole night.
Why does that happen? And why is it so common?
It doesn't happen that much anymore with me because I'm very strict about it. And I just say, if you don't show up within 10 minutes, then I'm just cutting your set.
Oh, but like just what I meant was like in general, like why is it like not a habit, but just why is it common that?
I think that a lot of people don't value other people's time. Okay? And so I find that a problem, and I make that known in the beginning. And so people aren't really late with me because I just know I'll leave and just not care. Yeah. Okay? But it's especially it's respect, but it's also like I'm doing if I have an event with 30 DJs and you're late because you had a gig over here and you had a gig over here and you had a gig, I don't care. I don't care why you're late. I don't care if traffic was bad. If traffic was bad, it's your fault. Okay? So it's just I make that very clear and everything's usually fine. So and the other thing was how music has changed, in Taiwan. Yeah. I mean, if you look now, hip hop is, I would say, the dominant music. They recently had the MTV's The Rappers that had, a big show with all this stuff, and they're doing great. They're doing a really great job of finding young rappers and doing this thing. And I run a website now called Lifted. Ho, shout out. And it focuses on Asian hip hop. And so what I'm trying to do with this website is not just build Taiwan hip hop, but build Asian hip hop as a whole. So a lot of people who are into Japanese hip hop know all the Japanese artists, but they don't know who's from Malaysia.
Yes.
Okay, and so what I'm doing
Amazing.
is kind of building this thing together with all these different artists, where sometimes you put people together, sometimes you know each other, sometimes, and I see my influence on different things, because these people might not have ever heard of this other person from India if I hadn't written about them or something like that. So
Connecting. You're connecting.
it's connecting. I'm the connector. I'm a connector. You know, they say, you know, they do say, like, you know, 7 degrees of whoever, and even Dwight Howard. So he was here, and his buddy named Moo was living with him, and I did a show with him in Kaohsiung for spring break, and he goes, man, before we came here, someone said, find Marcus Aurelius in Taiwan. He's the guy to talk to. And like, that made me really happy that, like, someone could say that to someone that I didn't know, you know, that's just like, this is the right guy. And I got to hang out with him a little bit, whatever, but it's just like, you know, it's just like,
I'm going to start saying that too.
It works. I know. Can I get in on the VIP list? I know Marcus. Yeah.
Not in that way.
I know. But the amount, it can go from that to all these different things. You'd be like, oh, who do you know from Taiwan? Marcus. Oh, I know him. And they say like 7 degrees of separation is always like there's one person that knows everybody. And so I feel like I'm kind of one of the guys as like the foreigner. I call myself, like, James Song used to be the governor of Taiwan. I call myself the foreign governor of Taiwan, you know, like I know all the people supposedly, or try to. And like a good, you know, 85% of them.
Oh, that's pretty good. That's pretty good.
It's pretty high. I'm tolerant. I'm tolerant for a lot of people.
Amazing.
One more thing. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
And you were talking about music and some of the DJs that have gone on. So DJ Ray Ray, she's had a phenomenal career. She won the first 3 style. Okay. And so anyone who thinks like, oh, she's a girl who's just pushing buttons or something like that, she will F you up. Okay, she will F you up. And so we've tried to get her to do some things for us, like, hey, Ray Ray, come play just a hip hop set, because she plays hip hop. She's a good hip hop DJ. She won the first, and she knew a lot of the 3 style people, you know what I mean, from there. The guy who beat me a few times was named DJ Afro, and he's a great DJ himself, but he also, you know, has his Afro school and teaches kids. And so there's a lot of good Taiwanese DJs, and right now they focus on, because for so long Asian hip hop used to just copy 50 Cent. Okay? They wanted to be Jay-Z. And what has happened, which is why we kind of started Lifted, was that in the last 5 to 10 years, every single kid has decided, I'm going to rap in Taiwanese. I'm going to rap in Chinese instead of English. I don't need to do this. In India, they have a thing called gully hop, where everyone was rapping in English and hip hop didn't really take off. And then they started rapping in all their native languages, and it just exploded. And now the guy who is named MC Stan, he won like the Big Brother of India. Okay? And so now Indian hip hop is just like, it's going to be the biggest music there. In Thailand, the Rolling Loud hip hop festival that just happened, the guys called Titanium, they started there 23 years ago was their anniversary, and I'm friends with them. They started, and no one would come out to their shows. Okay? And now they just ran through the biggest hip hop festival in the world.
Oh, in the world.
In Asia.
That's amazing.
Okay? And so with Cardi B as the headliner, with Travis Scott, with Fat Joe, with Rick Ross, you know, stuff like that. So that's how big hip hop has gotten, not just in Taiwan, but in Asia. And so Taiwan still has a bit to grow with it, but the rapper show that's going on TV is really helping out, and the people that are doing that are amazing. And so, you know, it's just hip hop kids are getting older. You know, like, you think of a hip hop kid, you think of a 20-year-old kid, but now they're 48. Yeah. Okay? And so now they still can be a DJ in the club and still play what kids like. I mean, I look at it like, if you are playing music out and you don't like this music, then you shouldn't be playing it. Okay? Let someone who likes it play. But I still listen to new music. I still download 500 tracks a week. I still practice all the time. You know what I mean? So I'm gonna play music until I'm in a wheelchair, and then you know, maybe
Awesome.
I'll still keep
Nursing
maybe
home,
maybe I'll still
nursing
keep going.
home.
Maybe I'll
Right.
still keep going from there. Okay. I want to hear Dr. Dre when I'm 95. Okay. Like I will sing Dr. Dre when I'm 95. There's no doubt.
Oh, amazing. I feel like you just also shared with us so much about the industry as well, both you know, as a, like you said, 50-year celebration of hip hop, but also in Asia and in Taiwan, and much to look forward to going forward with where this is headed. Because so much of it has impacted pop culture, right, and all that stuff. So we're running short on time.
Yeah. I talk too much. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, it's great. But I wanted to wrap up by asking my per usual wrapping up question.
Okay.
So you're really good at remembering without taking notes. So I guess I can just shoot the questions at you.
Yeah, sure.
What keeps you grounded?
Can we do it
One by one. Okay, what keeps you grounded?
Let's do it. Let's do it one by one because that one was a little hard because that was like 4 questions in one. The last one.
Yeah, but you remembered it.
What keeps me grounded? I think that, you know, like being a DJ, you have to have, and from being hip hop. So hip hop started out as battling. Okay, you want to be the best. You think you're the best. Even if you're not the best, you still have to have the attitude as the best. I think that over the years, I've learned that that's a good attitude to have, but you have to kind of take your ego down a little bit. So you have to be self-aware. So I know, you know, like people are like, oh, look, the old guy's DJing and shit like that. And I'm like, yeah, the old guy's DJing, but he's playing way better than everybody else. So, you know what I mean? So, I mean, I think you need to be self-aware. So to have some self-awareness of what you're doing. And I think that helps kind of, I guess that's the answer, being self-aware.
How do you remind yourself to like have self-awareness, or when you talk to younger DJs, like how do you like quote unquote educate them about that? And because I guess to your point earlier, in the early days, hip hop was like a battle kind of situation, and I think growing up with hip hop, it was like for our parents' generation, it was always seen as, oh, that's what the bad kids, you know, are listening to, or that's what the bad kids are doing, and with like the fashion sense, etc., right, the baggy pants and the midriff for girls.
Yeah.
You know, how has that also changed? I know that's not the second question.
Sorry. Yeah, no. I mean, it's funny because I saw the midriff is really, you know, like the 90s and 2000s style is very, very hot right now. I mean, it's a 20-year cycle. And so, and also the big, huge pants, stuff like that too. I had a very supportive family, so I skateboarded, and I think that also helped me when I was a kid because you fall down and you get up and you keep trying to do it. You know what I mean? So I think that always, so I think the combination for me personally of hip hop and skateboarding was kind of like an education, but also it was where the bad kids were. It was where I first started smoking weed or drinking and stuff like that because our parents weren't around, so we could do those things when you're 13 years old or 12 years old or whatever you're trying to do. So, I think what was the second part of the question? I'm sorry.
Self-awareness. Well, because you said to be you're constantly reminding yourself to be self-aware, and I said normally how do you do it? Like, do you just give yourself like a mental note today? Like you tell yourself a morning mantra? Like Marcus, be self-aware.
Yeah, no. I think that I don't personally. I think that helps for some people. Okay, to put Post-it notes on their wall and you know read that stuff. For me personally, I send myself a lot of messages every day. Okay, I take notes on my phone with so much. I probably have 5,000 notes on my phone of just things I see that I want to look back on. You know, whatever. So, but it's more for me personally. I think that just believing in myself, believing in what I'm doing, is where, you know, if you want to do this, you can do this. So I look at the steps, you break it down into smaller parts and then do it. And I also find that working with people who I trust and who I like, you know, that also helps. But for my, you know, like telling younger DJs and stuff like that, I mean, everyone who's young is coming up and they have the attitude of this too. Show and prove, you know what I mean? Like, show me what you got. You know, that's what I want to see. And I'm happy if someone's like, I think there's enough room for everyone to be successful. Okay? I don't think to have this person be successful, I need to not DJ anymore or something like that. You know what I mean? I think we can go back to back and have a great time and do these things like that. You know what I mean? So when the people that beat me in freestyle, I don't ever think like, oh, I hate those guys or anything like that. I'm just like, hey, they won that day. You know, that's great. Do I think are we equal in skill? I think our skills are equal. So.
So
48 years is a long time to be alive, you know?
So, what resources? So, I think for you, and normally this question in particular refers to like books or mentors or podcasts. You don't have to reference those. You can also reference musicians, you know, or DJs as you want. The question is more like, what resources would you recommend to those who, you know, who like encounter you, you know, even if they're, I guess like if they're going through shit, you know, and they kind of are stuck.
Well, I think that when I got to Taiwan, there were 3 different people who were like my uncles. Outkast was the musical group, Ice Cube, and The Roots, okay? Because I was alone in a different country and listening to what they had to say. So music was such an important thing to like get me through these things. So I would listen to this music religiously and hear these little parts and go, oh, this is what I should do for this is what I should do for that. Now, I know gangster rap and stuff like that has been misogynistic and different all these years, and so things are changing very rapidly. And so with podcasts, I mean, that's why I think that, like, I listen to Questlove Supreme, and Questlove is the drummer for The Roots, and he talks to everybody. He talks to them for a long time, like George Clinton, you know, Prince's drummer, stuff like that. And so when I'm in that mood, I listen to that stuff. I mean, music for me is the main thing, but I listen to it differently now that I DJ. Okay, because I'm not listening just for pleasure. I'm listening, hey, should I play this at the dance floor? Can I play this at the pool party? Should I play it at a Mongolian festival? You know what I mean? It's a different thing. So I would say, you know, as mentors, I would say there are people like Jazzy Jeff for me, who whatever he does, I check it out. I listen to what he says on podcast. There's another guy called Scratch Bastard who's kind of like the next generation Jazzy Jeff. And so he's the one who came to Taiwan, and I met him, and he's the one who I talked about doing the 3-style, stuff like that. So I would consider a mentor from afar. You know what I mean? I brought him over a few times. In Taiwan, you know, my uncle was a mentor when I first got here. But the funny thing is his crew was rock people, and they didn't like the rap kids. And so I came here as a rap kid, and they thought I was bad, wearing my pants down low and whatever. And so we didn't get along. So it was, I wouldn't say didn't get along, but just didn't hit it off quite. But electronic music kind of like put that all together. When I found DJs, when you find, you know, 20 DJs you like and want to hang out with and stuff like that, that kind of helped it out. So I think that's basically, you know, there are a lot of my friends that I talk to about things, but, you know, I feel like, you know, listening to music probably is my main source of mentorship. You know what I mean? Kind of. I'd look for, you know, like De La Soul recently just put their albums out on the DSPs. Okay, so for the last 30 years, they haven't had the records on there because they've had too many samples that have been cost too much. And so I was, you know, on the verge of a breakup with my ex-girlfriend, and I was trying to listen to all De La Soul albums to get some advice for what I should do. And definitely there's some in there if you find it. And so, you know, if you're looking for things, you can find them.
So usually my third question is,
okay,
what would you tell your younger self what you know now? Or it would be like, what 2 cents would you give to the audience who are listening to your particular episode and resonate with you? But I feel like you kind of answered that in the first two questions.
Yeah,
the self-awareness part, and then the other section that you answered. So I want to reverse my question for you and ask you, you feel free to answer too, but I actually wanted to ask you, because in the last answer, it's, you know, music is also very personal. And with the way music is being exposed to society these days, like, you know, we don't really listen to the radio anymore where you can't press skip, right? You just have to listen to that song until it finishes. Yeah. And I barely turn on my TV, so it's not like I'm watching MTV or Channel V where I can see the music video. Yeah. And, you know, this is such a 90s kid illustration here. So if you're on Spotify or Apple Music, that's kind of, or KKBox or wherever you are in the world, where you use the music streaming, whichever app you use on your phone, you kind of end up reverting to what technology is feeding you, right? So if you're not in the field, right, but you still would like to listen to music, I guess my question is like, how would you recommend for people to find what resonates with them, you know? Because like, so I love how you were explaining earlier about like, you know, these different artists and then like listening to the lyrics or listening to the beats that really like get you for, you know, I mean, because it's a very emotional thing, right? It's like you're listening to how you're feeling today. You're like, I feel like shit, like I'm heartbroken, so I'm going to listen to this. I'm super excited and happy and I want to listen to this. So you set the mood for the music. And I think a lot of times we forget the power that music has in those settings, right? So you, like, for what you're saying, I mean, I didn't ask this earlier, but you know, like outdoor pool party music or beachside music. It's like there are certain beats you want to play to generate and create that space. Right. And I feel like for myself these days, it's like, I don't even know how to, unless people recommend songs to me, like I don't know, Spotify top 50, right? Like,
well, I think there are many things, there are a lot of questions you had in there. And I would say that by having all the world's music at your fingertips, we are at a very, very, very lucky time. Okay? Because remember, Netflix, the beginning of Netflix, the idea was to have every single movie or TV show available to you right there. Okay? And that was what, and now it's gone to be Paramount and HBO and whatever bullshit. So what I would say was that the algorithm of Netflix knows you pretty well. Okay? But you are also your human algorithm. Okay? And your friends are your human algorithms, and your parents and what they listen to and all this stuff. And so I feel that there's so many different ways to find music and to enjoy it. Okay? So like, sure, you can go to Marcus Aurelius Maurice on Spotify and follow my 50 playlists that I have on there. You can go to my Mixcloud and listen to my mixes on there too. That's also fine. But keep going from there. Go one more from there. You know, like I listen to so many different things, but I like DJ mixes probably the best because I like how someone puts one song together with another song. And so, like the other day, there's this house music song that I used to like that has steel drums in it that I can't figure out the name of it. Okay? I cannot figure out. I Shazammed it. I heard it when I was riding my scooter. I Shazammed it when I got home. It's not the one that I'm talking about, and I'm still like mystified. I know, and I looked through my liked songs yesterday. There's 400, 500 songs, and I'm like, I know I like this song. I know it's in there, but I know I'm going to find it at some point. But also during this search for that song, I found 4 or 5 songs that I really like also. Okay? And so for me personally, what I do is I just add songs to my liked constantly, and just whenever I hear something, you know, DJs are supposed to be too cool to like Shazam stuff, you know what I mean? But I still Shazam stuff, you know what I mean? If I hear someone, because why wouldn't I? DJs, you know, but because there's some people that just sit there. When I worked in China, people would just film exactly what I was playing all the time, just so they had it, so they knew what remixes I was playing. So, but I mean, the end thing is that right now we're at such a good place in the world with music that everything is available to say, Alexa, play, you know, Hindi hip hop, and boom, 20 Hindi hip hop songs will play. Okay, that is amazing. Think about how amazing that is. You can just say words, and that will happen, and all the satellites will go to here and here and here and here and here. Think about where we are. So I look at it like we have to enjoy this moment, because I'm not sure this moment like this is going to last forever. Just like Netflix now has broken up into all the different things, I feel like maybe in the future we won't be as lucky, and Universal will have their own app, you know, Warner Brothers will have their own app, stuff like that. So we should help this, but also listen, you know, like there's an algorithm of the computer, but there's also the people's algorithm.
Yes.
You know, and so that's why when planning my demise of, you know, like thinking, could an AI replace me on a dance floor? Okay? Like, could an AI replace a DJ? Sure, you can say, hey, put a Spotify list up there, and a lot of people do that because I want to get paid a little bit more than the regular DJs because I bring the party. I think my skill is worth a little bit more than everybody else's normal pay. Okay? So, but when arguing with people about that, they just say, oh, I can put on a playlist. And I say, yeah, sure, you can put on a playlist, but you can't look at what the people over there like and think, well, maybe they like that. Let's go this way. Let's go that way. So there's the human interaction, even requests. Okay? People come up and request songs, and I'm like, do I really want to play that? But I play that, and then it goes crazy because they knew something I didn't know, because those people wanted to hear Bad Bunny or whatever other stuff they want to hear. So take in everything. Listen to what you're hearing, and if you like music, listen to what you hear in 7-Eleven, listen to what you hear at the nightclub, listen to what your friends is playing. Share music with your friends, because I feel like if you like somebody, then you probably like some of their music, right? So why not listen to music together, and you're both joyful, and it's great. So find the human. There's the regular algorithms, and then there's the human algorithms. Find those, and your life will be much better.
Thank you for your time and for sharing your story. And I will put all the resources that you shared with us in the episode resources links below, so people can find you.
Fantastic.
Listen to you, follow you, go to your gigs, maybe hire you for their events.
Yeah, anytime. I'm always available. I mean, that's the one funny thing. I got one little quick story. So my friends make a joke about that I will play any gig, okay? If it's your cat's birthday, if it's your dog's, you're getting your dog's haircut, whatever, I will do anything if you hire me, right? And so I do a lot of weddings. And recently, a girl that I know whose wedding I played at, she's getting divorced. And she wants me to play at her divorce party. I'm like, oh, I got to play there because it's the first time. It's like full circle. So hire me. I will DJ, and your party will be much better for it.
Oh,
hey.
So nice. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
That's all we have time for today. Thank you for listening to Curito Connects. For more Connects content, collaborations, and discoveries set to inspire you on your own individual journey, please head to our website at www.curito.co. Until next time, stay inspired, and thank you for joining us at Curito Connects.